Hello and welcome to Running the Table, the podcast where we run through everything on the table in the world of sports. And as the marathon of season previews comes to a close, we're on our last division, the AFC West. We saved the best for last, and it is by far the most interesting division in football this season. So, Tim, are you ready to go?
Let us run it.
Let us indeed. And what better place to start in Mile High City? And I think there's only one phrase to say. Broncos country. Let's
ride.
Le ride. All right, breakdown for the Broncos over. That's it.
Yep, that's it. That's the team.
That's the team. Russell Wilson at quarterback now. Okay, there's a little bit more to it than that. Russell Wilson is the new sheriff in Denver. He's the best quarterback that they've had since Peyton Manning. And if there's anybody that knows how to make the best of an offense, it's Russell Wilson. And the talent around him is definitely enough for this offense to be something. They have Javonte Williams and Melvin Gordon as a running back duo, Cortland Sutton and Jerry Jeudy outside, and the ever so special tight end, Alberto. Not going to try to pronounce his last name. Not gonna do it.
Nope. I believe that.
Tim, you want to try?
Nope. Not even known.
It's very long-winded. But the defense should also be pretty good. With Bradley Chubb coming off the edge, they added Randy Gregory. They brought back Josie Jewell. Pat Surtain was a really good cornerback last year. They got Ronald Darby, and they run back Justin Simmons and Kareem Jackson at the safety. I expect this Denver Broncos team to ride right into the playoffs, 11-6, and that'll be a wild card. Tim, I see you also have them at 11-6. Will that be enough to make the wild card?
No. They come in at the 9th seed. And that's what's so crazy about the AFC for me.
How
Three
many
out of the four
teams are going 11-6?
Not that many. A couple. It's the 12s and it's the 12 and 5s that get you.
Oh my god! Because that's nuts.
But
this is like the third 11-6 team that you have missing the playoffs.
Yes.
My god, that's nuts.
So here's the thing. But for the Broncos in specifics, realistically, the defense was their stellar point last year. Very solid defense. Their offense is what came up short. And all of a sudden now you've got Russell Wilson at the helm. You've got a running back duo that can certainly get things done, and you've got receivers that absolutely give Wilson options to throw the ball around. It definitely hurts them to lose Tim Patrick. Sucks to see him go down. I was looking forward to see what he could bring to that offense as well. But honestly, I would say the biggest question mark is actually going to be the coaching staff. First-year head coach Nathaniel Hackett. It's kind of like, okay, what's going to happen? I mean, you've got a lot of guys who, coaching or not, I think are still very good football players. Just a matter of what's that system going to look like. But yeah, I have them at 11-6, but in my version of the AFC, that is not enough to make the playoffs.
Crazy. That is so nuts to me that multiple 11-6 teams miss out on the playoffs, but that is the craziness of the AFC. Now we're going on to a team in Kansas City that should definitely make the playoffs, 11-6 or not, because although they lost Tyreek Hill, they still have a quarterback that is slightly better than a ping pong ball in Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid at head coach and a staff that can still really beat you with brains. And they have some talent to beat you with. Even though Tyreek is gone, they added Juju Smith-Schuster and Marquez Valdes-Scantling. Travis Kelce is still there. And the defense, they addressed the holes that they needed to with guys like Justin Reed and Deion Bush, adding guys like Trent McDuffie in the draft and Leo Chenal and George Karlaftis.
Forget about George Karlaftis, yep.
George Karlaftis, Purdue's very own. Boiler up, baby. But I think the Chiefs will be fine. They have a good enough coach and a good enough quarterback, and they know how to win. 12-5, and I actually have them winning the AFC West this year. A very tough AFC West.
And I actually do as well. This is going to be a very tough division.
Wow.
But I think they're still going to be a very solid team. one of the things I don't think people are really talking about, I think their wide receiver core is actually being slightly underrated at the moment. You have guys like Juju and Marcus Valdez-Scantling and McCole Hardman, who I think are decent and serviceable with a quarterback like Patrick
Huh.
Mahomes. Especially one of the other things to consider, you've also got guys like Sky Moore and the big guy that I think that almost no one's talking about that I think can absolutely make a difference going forward is Justin Ross. He is a guy that really went sneaky, just kind of unnoticed going into this year, but he was a standout for at least his rookie year, and I believe maybe even his freshman year and then his sophomore year at Clemson. And he's got a lot of talent. I think they've got guys that they can work towards building, as well as guys that can be serviceable at the moment. So this wide receiver core actually, I think, is going somewhere in the positive direction, heading towards the future. And on top of that, it's still the Chiefs. You still got pretty much almost everybody else that makes them as good as they are. They're going to be perfectly fine.
Now we'll go to the team from Sin City, the Las Vegas Raiders. How much adversity do you have to go through in one season? And not only that, still make the playoffs. They had the situation with John Gruden, and then the situation with Henry Ruggs, and then the situation with Damon Arnett. And it was
It just doesn't end
so
for
much.
the Raiders.
And this roster got better. They made a trade for the best receiver in the NFL in Devontae Adams, who I will miss so very dearly. It's going
I
to
bet you will.
watching him in silver and black. That was painful, but we'll, that's neither here nor there. There's a new coaching change now that John Gruden and Rich Bisaccia are out and Josh McDaniels, and we'll see how this team responds in general. Someone's got to be on the outside looking in the AFC, though. And that for me is the Raiders. I have them at 8-9 because the schedule doesn't really bounce their way. They have a few tough stretches, and not every AFC West team can be 12-5 or better. I don't think it's mathematically possible.
Not every team, but what if I told you 3 out of the 4 teams?
Tim, in your NFL predictions world, that is a very distinct possibility, but not with me. I think just the AFC in general will beat each other up, and you get a lot of teams that are clumped around that 12-5 to 10-7 range. And
Yeah.
I think the Raiders just get the short end of the stick a few too many times and they miss out.
Yeah, it's very possible. You talk about we mentioned before with some of the other teams. You talk about a brand new head coach. How is that going to respond with the team? But overall, I really like the talent that they have. I mean, you bring in Devonte Adams to match with his college quarterback Derek Carr. Josh Jacobs still being a decent option. But you match that with Hunter Renfrow, Darren Waller. It takes some of the pressure off a guy like Darren Waller, who is getting so many targets and so much attention that I think can really open the field for him. And then you look at the defensive side. I personally love the addition of Chandler Jones. I think putting Chandler Jones and Max Crosby across each other on opposite ends of the defensive line is going to be a problem for a lot of teams' offensive lines. And overall, I just think that makes them that much deeper of a team. And for that reason, they are another one of my 12-5 teams. And
Because
they
of
do
course they
sneak
are.
into the playoffs. I have them sneaking into the playoffs at 12-5. But like you said, these teams are going to beat up on each other, especially this division in particular. I have this division going 4-2, 3-3, 3-3, and 2-4, all against each other. So any of these teams can beat each other on any given day.
Anything is definitely possible. And in the NFL, especially in the AFC West, any given Sunday is definitely in play. But to wrap up the AFC West, we're going to take a trip to the Los Angeles Chargers.
Talk
And
about additions to your team.
yeah, they were quite literally a timeout away due to a playoff spot. Like them and the Raiders could have just had a silent agreement to get each other in and
I
knock
still can't
Pittsburgh
believe that
out.
didn't happen.
Oh my God. I mean, the Chargers' arrogance, but they added pieces to make sure that they're not in that position again. I remember last year I looked at the roster and said that this has the potential to be a playoff team. I am confident in saying that this year they will be a playoff team because the offense was already firing on all cylinders. You get Justin Herbert for one more year. He's already one of the NFL's best quarterbacks, and I think he'll get even better. Keenan Allen and Mike Williams is a very, very dangerous duo. And then that defense, you add J.C. Jackson and Bryce Callahan. And so you got guys like Joey Bosa, and you add Khalil Mack, and you got guys like Derwin James, and the names go on and on and on for the Chargers. So I think they will definitely make the playoffs here.
Yeah, I mean, once again, they're going to be a team that has an electric offense. I think the only real question mark for me is Keenan Allen isn't getting any younger. What are you going to get out of Mike Williams? Those are going to be the two. Those two guys are both very good wide receivers, but it's kind of like, okay, what's really going to happen here? But if you look at the team as a whole, they're still going to be a really, really good team. And I think those guys are going to be perfectly fine. It's just a matter of guys like Mike Williams that are so boom and bust. It's kind of like, okay,
I think
is that really sustainable for the whole year? I don't know.
Well, I think it will be. I think it will be because of the financial commitment that the Chargers made to him.
And that's the thing. I completely believe so too. I still think they're going to be a perfectly fine team. I don't think you'll see nearly as high of a ceiling as you saw out of Mike Williams for some of the games this past year, but he's still an electric deep ball threat, and you've got a guy like Justin Herbert who can sling it with the best of them. And their defense, you talk about those additions. Khalil Mack, as much as he is on the back half of his career, he's still a very good defensive lineman, and you pair him across from Joey Bosa. You've got guys then that can take the pressure off of each other, and then you add J.C. Jackson. I mean, their defense is going to be vastly improved. Their offense is just as electric as it used to be. I've got them at 12-5 as well, also sneaking into the playoffs.
What a division this is in general. It's, oh my God.
This division in the offseason, especially towards like the first half of the offseason, it seems like every move made was from the AFC West.
They were just kind of being,
like it could not get crazier until the next signing.
One up in each other. That's all they were doing. But that's it. We've covered them all. We've covered all 32 teams, season previews, what to expect from them this season. So this NFL season is going to be such a fun one. We're going to be coming at you.
So excited to cover it all.
With not only weekly predictions, but weekly stardom situms, fantasy advice for all you who need it. So that'll be fun, but get ready for that when the season starts. But until then, go watch more of our stuff, because across the world of sports, if you want it, chances are we have it. But until next time, like and subscribe for more of us, and we out.